Dzisiaj gościem w piwnicy na Bema 65 jest Robert Hunter. Welcome, Robert. Robert jest twórcą przedsięwzięcia, który się nazywa Campos de España. Za chwilę na czym polega ten projekt nam wyjaśni. Dzisiejszy videoblog będzie po angielsku. Mam nadzieję, że Wam to nie przeszkadza. Ja będę się starał jak będę mógł mówić po angielsku. Robert, so can you tell us what's Campos de España project about?
Okay. The idea behind Campos de España is that most people outside of Spain know three types of wine from Spain. They know Rioja, they know Cava, and they know cheap. So the problem is that there are many, many regions in Spain that people really don't understand very well. So our idea was to make it a little bit easier and to show basically three types of wine which you can find in Spain. And those three types of wine come from three climates, and in each climate we can find one major grape variety, which are Garnacha, which is from Aragon, the valley of the River Ebro. Tempranillo is a grape variety which is found in the whole of Spain, but particularly in the high central area of Spain. You know, Spain is one of the highest countries in Europe. Madrid is the highest capital in Europe. And Tempranillo likes that high continental climate. And then finally in the southeast, around the cities of Valencia, Alicante, Murcia, there you have the Monastrell variety. This is a very, very dry area. Monastrell is one of the toughest grape varieties. So those are the three grape varieties we've chosen to work with and tried to produce one wine of each variety which really expresses the true qualities of those varieties at a very affordable price.
All right, so tell us how you were looking forward to getting the best examples of those grapes.
Garnacha, if we start with Garnacha, for example, Garnacha is grown all the way down the River Ebro. You start in the south end of Rioja, and you go through Navarra, through the province of Aragon, where you have Cariñena, Calatayud, Campo de Borja, and you end up going through Catalunya, where you have the Priorat, you have Tarragona, Terra Alta. So Garnacha is grown in many different places. It's a question to find wines which are good value and a good quality at the same time. So it depends a little bit on the size of the vineyard. So you need somebody who has quite a large vineyard, and you need an area which is fairly easy to work. So in this sense, the region of Cariñena fills all those criteria. If you go to the Priorat, or even to somewhere in Aragon, like Calatayud, there you have much smaller vineyards on hillsides, separated by several miles. That just makes the work more difficult, and more difficult means more expensive. And more expensive, therefore, more expensive grapes means more expensive wine. So we chose Cariñena because it has a good concentration of old vines, and old vines equals very good quality.
That's true. We were even tasting it in the video blog. It was the second part. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it very much. It has lots of fruitness. It's very fresh, and still those old vines give some stronger structure. And this is the question about the price. How is it possible that on the label I'm finding the information that the wine is made from the old vines and it's in the Polish market in 30 zlotys?
The case is economy of scale. In other words, you have a large vineyard with a lot of old vines, plus the cost of growing grapes is also related to how easy it is to grow grapes. If you grow grapes in the west of Spain, for example in Galicia, it's very wet. And in order to keep away diseases and fungus, they have to treat the vines maybe 15-20 times every year. In an Albarino, for example, you're looking at going into the vineyard 15 or 20 times to spray, to check.
Still investment.
So it's a lot of money. Here, you're in a region which is very dry, where the treatments here in the vineyards maybe 2 or 3 times a year. 3 times in a wet year, and 2 times in a dry year. So you have a very low cost of production, plus you have economy of scale in growing grapes and in bottling wine.
So as I understand, because during the wine production, the main thing is the work on the vineyard. And here, as I understand, is the terroir, the place is so good, so there is not so much work.
Yeah, to grow grapes, you need a lot of sunshine. That's why in places like Germany, you have the terraces and the vines are all facing south, so they can capture all the sunlight. In Spain, it's flat, and you have the sunlight. And in fact, the name of the wine is precisely that. When we went to Cariñena, we looked for some sort of characteristic of the region to name the wine. We looked for the name. Where can we find the name of this wine? How would we describe it? And what we called it was Campos de Luz, the fields of light, because it's just bright and light, so there's plenty of sunshine. Rainfall is fairly low, it's sufficient, but it's fairly low. So there's not a huge production, but enough to produce grapes at a relatively good price.
So I think we'll now move to the second bottle with the Tempranillo. This bottle I enjoyed a lot. Whoever wants to see how I enjoyed, they may see the video, the second part. Tell us about Campo de Viento.
Campos de Viento is from a region called the Uclés. Uclés is an unknown DO. It's a small DO right on the edge, the northeast edge of La Mancha. It's an area between the city of Madrid and the town of Cuenca, in a sort of rolling area. And there are two great varieties grown. One is Airén, which is a white variety, and Airén, the farmers who grow Airén,
biggest production
in Spain, and the farmers who grow Airén, they want big quantity. So they grow Airén in the valleys, on the rich soil in the valleys, because there they can get 10, 15 kilos of every vine, which is a lot of grapes, and that wine is usually then made into alcohol or sold to make sparkling wine. A lot of the cheap sparkling wine that is drunk now in Russia or maybe even in Poland actually comes from La Mancha, the base wine. In the same area, on the hilltops, they have poor soils, and so they plant Tempranillo on the hilltop, because if you plant Tempranillo in richer soil, it doesn't produce any more. So they plant Tempranillo on the hilltops where it's stony, the soils are poor, but they have very deep soils, and they have a very good quality of Tempranillo. Again, older vines, because it's not worth it for them to...
How old are they?
Yeah, between 30 and 80 years old.
All right, I think I'm really ready to taste it. So let's talk about one with it.
Okay. One of the ideas, what we've tried to do with all three wines, is to really find the true varietal expression, so that anybody who knows anything about Spanish wine puts their nose in the glass and goes, oh yeah, Tempranillo.
Sunny, Tempranillo, fruity, strawberry.
Yeah. And it also, the aroma of Tempranillo really reminds me of something which we don't have in Spain, but which you have in sort of Central Europe, which is sour cherries.
It's very nice, complex in the mouth. It has acidity, which is very balanced to the sweetness, and there's very nice notes of the sweetness, which I think it makes this wine very attractive for the regular client. It's even starting with the one to get the first knowledge about the Spanish bottles, to see the king of the Spanish grapes, right? Which
exactly, that's really what we've tried to do, and make something which you can drink every day. So you start with something which is very light, very fruity. Here you have something which has a little more structure, but still some freshness. And then we move down south.
Yeah, and how will you compare the Monastery grape with the Tempranillo?
With Monastery, we've moved to a different climate, a really different climate. If you look at a map of Spain, you see the northwest is where all the cold fronts, all the rain comes from the northwest. So by the time you've got down to the southeast, there's very little rain. And that's what you have here. We have a very, very dry climate, a very hot climate, and a place where Tempranillo would never work, because Tempranillo ripens in hot climate, ripens very quickly, which means very unbalanced, very green sort of wines. So you need a grape like Monastrell, which takes a long time to ripen. Here in this region, in Jumilla, if they plant Cabernet Sauvignon and Syrah, Monastrell is still the last grape to ripen. So it takes a long time to ripen, and therefore it can fully develop its flavors. This is from a soil, so each wine has a little bit the name of the place. Campos de Luz, very bright light. Campos de Viento, you know, La Mancha is famous for its windmills, so this is a little bit of windy area. And Campos de Risca means the soil. Yeah. This is a bright white soil. It's got large white calcareous stones, and it looks like you could never plant anything there. But it has a very deep soil, and any rain that comes goes straight down into the soil and is captured by the roots of the vines.
And here the roots are long because of the old vines as well, or not really?
Yeah, there's the very old vines, in some cases even without any rootstock, you know, planted on their own traditional rootstocks. So, and here the vines look so small, they grow so little. Yeah, an old vine can be this size. It can be 80 years old and still just really this tiny size. And it grows like a bush just along the floor, and the grapes all are underneath the cover of the leaves. It's a very, very hot, warm area. So even though we've chosen a cool soil, you'll see that this is a big, warm wine.
So please, let's take this bottle. Stronger color,
more color, a deeper color, and already in the nose, the type of aromas you're getting are much warmer, much more like
jammy.
That's right. If here we're finding aromas which are still floral, slightly perfumed, here we find aromas which are more fresh fruit. In this wine we find aromas which are really cooked fruit.
Yes.
So it's jammy, like compote.
And Monastrell, which is named as well Morvet, it's famous for some meaty notes, very often. Do you agree? Because for me, in my opinion, there is some beef tenderloin in the
There's a little bit meaty, yes. In that. Again, this attempts to be a truly recognizable wine as well. Obviously, we're looking for fruit, we're looking for pleasant aromas, but also aromas which are very, very recognizable from this variety. The difficulty is trying to keep that freshness, keep the acidity. Yeah? You have to have acidity, you have to have freshness, otherwise the wine becomes too heavy. But here you have more alcohol, you have more structure, a little bit more tannins.
Long aftertaste. Very nice.
But so from Spain, obviously people tend to think in terms of countries: France, Italy, Spain. In this range you have three wines which really express the three major types of red wine that you get in Spain, without oak. None of these wines have any oak, even though some people say, it feels like oak. No, that's just purely the flavour of the wine. Yeah. That's really the three different types of flavour you get in Spanish red wine. And from there on you can get much more complex and sophisticated things, but these are good everyday drinking wines, is the idea.
Szanowni, jesteśmy po degustacji 3 bardzo godnych butelek, które są w bardzo przyzwoitych cenach. Warto po nie sięgać. To są naprawdę godni reprezentanci szczepów uprawianych w Hiszpanii. Garnacie widzieliście, degustowałem, to jest świetne wino ze starych krzewów z rejonu Aragonia. Tempranillo, król szczepów w Hiszpanii, tutaj reprezentuje bardzo świeży, lekki, owocowy styl, przyjazny, absolutnie przyjazny. No i ostatnia butelka na bazie szczepu Monastrell, bardzo ekstraktywna, bardzo esencjonalna, a równocześnie wkupi się w łaski każdego podniebienia swoją owocowością. Więc wszystkie z tych 3 win bardzo polecam. Wszystkie są dostępne na Bema 65. Serdecznie zapraszam. Bardzo się cieszę, że dzisiaj mieliśmy wspaniałego gościa, który promuje Hiszpanię wspaniałymi smakami. Robert, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are welcome every time you are in Poland. I hope to taste your excellent wines from Rioja region, from your winery as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And thanks for saying all that in Polish, because I think that sounds fantastic. I don't think I could ever say that.
Thank you.